H-Town, you better stand up and get your hands up. My name's Nick Stevenson, the president of Houston Sports. He is Ruben Calvillo, Mr. 713. This is the Twin Toros podcast. You ready, big dog?
I am ready, baby. Let's get it going.
Let's get it. All right, man. First of all, I want to say to you, man, happy 10th episode.
Hey.
I guess we're doing something right. ESPN hasn't kicked us off yet. We got over 3,000 views on our last video. I'm so excited, man. And I think, obviously, the city of Houston is really excited about the Texans, and with good reason. But I just want to thank you guys again for all of your support, whether you're on 713 Houston Sports or you're on ESPN Houston. Thank you so much for all the love and support you've been giving us. Let me start with no Nico, no problem.
Ooh.
The Texans get the blowout win we called for last week, Ruben. Now, I guess they would win 35-14. I was close, but they get a 41-21 victory. So many of the things we asked for them to do, they did, man. So I want to talk about it. Tell me how you're feeling today on a Victory Monday.
Man, I'm feeling great, and 5-1 is, not something to just pass over. Right now, we are one of the best teams in the NFL. We are in first place in our division. Hats off to this Houston Texans team, and we're 5-1, and we all know as fans that this team is not complete and they're not playing where they need to be. So the fact that you're 5-1 and you have an opportunity to grow and get better and then get back a Nico, a Harris, a Danico Archery this upcoming week. Man, I'm feeling excited, dude. I love being 5-1. We definitely deserve this as Houston Texans fan. One thing I want to point out, leading up to this Patriots game, the Houston Texans were averaging, I believe, 5.6 points in the second half. Well, yesterday they had 27. This Houston Texans team, they dominated the New England Patriots. Now, of course, the Patriots got theirs, some, garbage time. Let's try to come back situations. But overall, you went on the road. You beat a team in their home that you've never won before. Shout out to the Houston Texans, man. 5-1, baby. Let's get it going.
Amen. Amen. Now, I'm not saying, Ruben, there's a reason they call you Mr. 713, and there's a reason they call me the president of Houston Sports. But last week, we talked about what this team needed to do. I think, my man, Ruben, you said I need to see sacks, not almost sacks. Well, the Houston Texans got 4 of them, 3 of them from Will Anderson Jr., who you specifically said, I want to see you get to the quarterback. 1 from Danielle Hunter. He also strip sacked that ball. The Texans had 4 takeaways yesterday, which is more than they had all season. So I think we know a little bit about what we're talking about, Ruben.
Yeah, man, either that or we're just great at guessing, man.
That might be it, too. That might be it, too.
You talk about Will Anderson Jr. I mean, he had a J.J. Watt type of performance. You bring up 3 sacks. He also had 4 tackles for loss. He had a pass breakup that led to an Eric Murray insane interception. Will Anderson Jr., he should be the AFC Defensive Player of the Week after this game because, man, he was fantastic. We saw Danielle Hunter just bend the arm of Drake May behind his helmet. It looked ugly. He was hurt, but you like seeing a guy get a sack after you gave him a $48 million contract guaranteed. You saw your rookie, Kalen Bullock, get his second INT of the season. And whether it's on BetUS or any other sports books, I'm pretty sure we're going to start seeing some Kalen Bullock Defensive Rookie of the Year odds. But, man, yeah, I mean, we talked about the sacks they got, and we talked about the turnovers they got, and we talked about scoring in the second half. They did that. Shout out to this Houston Texans team, man.
Yeah, and look, man, we're not sitting there pretending that they just dominated the Chiefs or the Ravens or something like that. But you went into an NFL city and you beat a team on the road by 21 points, or by 20 points, excuse me. That you can't shake a stick at that, man. I mean, the other side, they get paid too. And like you said, it's really weird to say that a defense dominated a game where Drake May, as a rookie, threw for 200 yards plus 3 touchdowns. But like you said, 2 of those were really garbage time. And I got to give Drake May some credit, man. He started off the game pretty bad. I think he's going to be a dude, man.
Man, and you gotta think about the pressure that any quarterback has when they suit up for New England. And I had this conversation yesterday. We saw that Drake May was a higher drafted Patriots player since Drew Bledsoe.
Hmm.
What type of pressure does he have? I'm pretty sure he's had the conversations, or they had the conversations. Is this guy the next Tom Brady? It's crazy
Right.
that you're gonna be compared to the greatest of all time. But he had his moments, a lot of big plays from the New England Patriots offense. However, it didn't feel like at any point of the game it was going to slip away
Right.
from the Houston Texans. And, the only part you felt that was in the second quarter, right? Once again, the Texans were, non existent in the second quarter. And I think that's kind of the only area where we could really nitpick and say they were horrible
Hmm.
on the offensive
It
side of
was
the
it
ball.
was self-inflicted wounds in the second quarter again.
A missed field goal from Kaimi Fairbairn, uncharacteristic. A
Hmm.
bobble from Dalton Schultz in the end zone, which led to a CJ shot interception. Yeah, you played against yourself in the second half, and you go in the half 14-7, and man, we were kind of a little worried. We were like, man, I know D'Amico Ryans has no problem winning this game 14-7 because the way they've been talking about this Houston Texans team, Nick, is okay, well, you can't beat a good team. You can beat the crappy teams.
Hmm.
Then you beat the New England Page. I'm sorry. Then you beat the Buffalo Bills, and you said, "Well, it was an ugly win."
Hmm.
Then you got an ugly win against the Jacksonville Jaguars. When are these Houston Texans team going to dominate an opponent? And they
Yeah.
did that this Sunday. Everything we've been asking for, this team has been able to do. And I'm gonna keep on mentioning, we're not 100% yet. And when we are, watch out.
Yeah, for sure. Last week, when we talked about keys to victory, we said defense needs to dominate. Well, they dominated the line of scrimmage. Once again, the Patriots' offensive line was terrible. But hey, here's my thing. The Texans didn't make the schedule. The Texans have to play the teams that are in front of them
Yes.
at the time that they are in front of them. So it's not their fault that maybe Caleb Williams wasn't as hot as he is right now when he came up on the schedule. It's not their fault that Josh Allen had 2 bad weeks in a row. I mean, they had something to do with that. All they can do is play the team that's in front of them. And I think as Houston Texans fans, if 3 years ago, when the people who were driving this franchise was Davis Mills and Rex Burkhead, every time the Texans lost a close game, we always said, oh man, we easily could have won that if this, and this happens, and we could have won. But now you're actually winning these games, and you're not satisfied with the win. Oh, we easily could have lost that game. Like, come on, man. This is the NFL. And it's why we're fanatics. It's why we live and die with every snap that this team does. But at the end of the day, man, you got to step back and take a look at the big picture. Like you said, the Houston Texans at 5-1 are among the best teams in the NFL right now. This defense is ranked number 4 in the entire league, number 3 in passing defense. They're a little bit middle of the road in run defense, but I think that's because they had a couple of games where they got gashed a few times early. But at the end of the day, man, this is still one of the best teams. And like you said, they have yet to hit on all cylinders. And that's a good thing because you want that happening later in the season. The step up in competition is coming. So we want to see this team continue to improve. You got to give them this, Ruben. Every week, they've gotten better.
No, I 100% agree. And, just 2 years ago, we were begging for these 3-point wins, these 59-yard field goal wins. It's just crazy how this franchise has turned around. But like you said, this Houston Texans team gets better every single week. And I just can't wait for it to get going, man. We have a great matchup upcoming against the Green Bay
I
Packers.
can't wait for this one, baby. I can't wait for this one.
Man. And the fact that, as we go back to the Patriots again, the fact that you won this without number 12 and you still put up 41 points. We didn't get that defensive touchdown that we wanted, Nick. However,
Right.
off of the turnovers, we did score, which is something that they haven't been able to do all year. This is what you wanted to see from this Houston Texan offense. The O-line, only 2 sacks. I'll take that. No penalties. No
Yeah.
false starts from Laramie Tunsil. Back-to-back games, penalty-free.
Yeah.
This was the offense's best performance of the season. Don't tell me it's because it's the Patriots. Don't tell me,
Yeah.
like, oh, your schedule is easy. That's not our fault, Nick, like you said.
Right.
And we were all saying in the offseason, I expect this team to be 6-0, 5-1, 7-1, 7-2 before you get to the Cowboys, the Lions,
Mm-hmm.
the Chiefs, the Ravens. We all knew how easy this schedule was. Everyone knew that. We all
Right.
said take advantage of these games, stack up as many W's as they can, because when you get to the hard part, you could afford some else. And
Yeah.
I think the Houston Texans are taking
Yeah.
advantage of their schedule right now. And you're one of the best teams right now in the NFL.
Yeah, and we talked about it last week. You can't shake a stick at the fact that you have a team that knows how to execute in crunch time and win close games. The Texans are an outlier when it comes to that. They have been winning close games ever since last season. You have a quarterback who has the poise, the calmness to do what he needs to do in those moments, and he's one of the most clutch quarterbacks in the NFL right now. I want to talk about the offense a little bit more, man, because CJ didn't have to dominate this game. He only threw for 192 yards, was it? 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, which it's hard. I would say that's one that he probably could have led Dalton Schultz a little bit better on. It's maybe a little bit behind him, but at the end of the day, it's a tip interception. So, and that's the thing about this game, man. We're nitpicking about a 41-21 win, and we were asking for just 30 points last week. And honestly, bro, they could have easily put up 50. You had a missed field goal. You had an interception in the end zone. You had a stalled drive when the Texans had been moving the ball and they had to punt it away. Like, if they did anything in that second quarter, bro, we're talking about a 50-burger. I want you to talk about Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell. We told them last week they needed to step up. What did you think about their performance?
You know, Stephon Diggs, I could go ahead and say this. The trade has worked out.
Yeah.
And everyone who was preying on his downfall just looks stupid. Stephon Diggs, ever since he signed that pen and paper, has been an impact for this Houston Texans organization. We saw him in training camp, man. And, you know, I'm going to keep on saying that he was working with guys before and after practice, guys who didn't even make this 53-man roster. He was working with them for the routes, for the release. You see his presence on the sideline. There was a time in training camp where it was raining and his offense wasn't going. Stephon Diggs ran up to him and was like, hey, we need to pick this up. Of course, he was using some curse words, but you know, you can feel what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's a leader. And you see that Captain patch, and you see Nico Collins goes down and he gives you 77 yards off of 6 receptions, 1 touchdown. You know, was going against number 1 cornerback for the New England Patriots, Christian Gonzalez. And, man, he was just making him look silly out there. Stephon Diggs, this trade has worked. He is a baller, and he's making everyone who doubted him look real stupid right now.
Yeah. Let's talk about last week. We were thinking that Cam Akers and Dario Gumbawale were going to be toting the ball for us.
Hey.
Well, we get Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce back. They combine everybody who rushed, including CJ, Dare, Joe Mixon, and Pierce for 192 yards total rushing in this game. That was another key to the game we talked about last week. How valuable was it to have that run game?
In the Bobby Slowick era, whenever they have a 100-yard rusher, the Houston Texans are undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
They had 3 last year. They were from Devin Singletary, all wins. And so far this year, with 2 100-yard rushing performances from Joe Mixon, the Texans are undefeated. He makes this offense special.
Yeah.
Like, without Joe Mixon, I don't think you can beat the Green Bay Packers. I don't think you can beat the Detroit Lions and the good teams. With Joe Mixon, I think you can go toe-to-toe with anyone, because at any moment, it seems like Joe Mixon could break one out, a 59-yard run, just high-stepping it, almost gets it to the end zone. And then what does he do also? I'll give you some help through the air. 2 catches, 30 yards, one of them being a touchdown.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon is special, man. And, there was a lot of criticism about the trade, about the contract extension. When Joe Mixon's on the field, it's undeniable that he is a legit weapon for this Houston Texan offense. Dameon Pierce, hats off to you. We saw some shades of rookie DP, man.
Yeah.
8 carries, 76 yards, the big 54-yard touchdown to ice the game. Now, I don't think he, I definitely think he stepped out of bounds. I think the rest.
His heel was up, bro. His heel was up.
I'll give it.
There wasn't enough. There definitely wasn't enough to overturn it.
Yeah.
Once I saw that,
even if they did overturn it, I would have gave it right back to him 4
sure.
times.
I almost wore my DP jersey for the show, man. The one I wore on our first episode.
And I'll say this: wishful thinking, hopeful thinking. If you can get Dameon Pierce some reliable carries, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
expecting 9.5 yards a carry like he did against New England. You can give me that 3 to 4 range. You can take some, some carries off of Joe Mixon. I am
Bro.
loving this 1-2 running back tandem, right? In the week 1 matchup, we said, look, I love Joe Mixon getting 159 yards, but I don't like him running the ball 20 plus times.
Right.
If Dameon Pierce can do this is a big if, but
Right.
hopefully, if he can do this, these running backs are going to be healthy. They're going to be fresh when it comes to playoff time.
Uh-huh.
I cannot wait, man. I
Bro,
see the
I'm
vision
tingling.
here.
I'm tingling just thinking about it, bro.
Dude, I see it here. And
I'm
that
telling
big
you.
54-yard, I know it meant a lot to Dameon Pierce.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I know he was just thinking, like, that's who I was in my rookie. Remember, we're talking about a 4th-round pick here, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
And in year 1, we were saying, can he potentially be a franchise running back for you? I mean, had 930 yards on the year. And
Yeah.
if the Texans were a little bit better, I promise you he would have been playing.
Yeah.
Horrible year 2, but it was a horrible year 2 for a lot of year 2 guys.
Yeah.
This year, it was like, all right, let's see what you can do, DP. And, got injured. Haven't seen him. First game back, man, you take one to the crib, looking like your old self. I love it, man. Keep on growing on this, and let's
Yeah.
get a nice, running back tandem. And like you said, CJ Stroud didn't have to do a lot.
Yeah. That was the good part. As impressed as I was with the offense, defense is really what dominated the day. The defense put the offense in very good positions. CJ had 3 touchdowns. Half the time he got the ball, he was already in enemy territory. So I just want to talk about this defense really quick because I've heard the naysayers talk about, the opponents, but you can't, like, in the NFL, to be a 4th-rated defense, and no, we haven't played the best quarterbacks in the league yet, but to be number 3 in pass defense, like, you can't shake a stick at this. Think about where this team has been in the past. Mm-hmm. And honestly, man, if we had Joe Mixon in the last few games, maybe if Danico Autry is not suspended for 6 games, if Christian Harrison, this team could easily be undefeated right now, man. We've talked about it exhaustingly, how 5-1 when you haven't even hit your full stride yet, it's almost silly at this point to be nitpicking at this team. And I understand it in many ways. I was listening to our buddies John and Lance this morning on ESPN 97.5. And, Lance was kind of nitpicking about, they rushed for 192 yards, but 2 of them were on really long runs, 50-yard plus runs. Those count, bro. It's such a good thing that the NFL doesn't count wins and losses based on how the fans and the media feel about it, because we'd probably be 1-5 right now instead of 5-1, right? But it's just one of those things, man, where we love this team, and you want to see your team dominate. But I think another thing is that when you're watching these other teams in the league, all we're watching most of the time is their highlights, right? We're not watching the full games because we're watching our Texans game. So when you see the highlights, you see Derrick Henry running for, 70-yard touchdowns, and, you see all the touchdown throws that Patrick Mahomes and all these other quarterbacks are throwing. You're thinking to yourself, why don't we look like that? Well, most of these games, if you watch the whole games, it's like D'Amico said, it's like CJ said. Very rarely is any NFL team just 100% dominating from first quarter to fourth quarter all the way through. Every team has their lulls. Every team has a quarter here and there where they're not quite hitting on all cylinders. Let us pump the brakes, man, and just remember, I'm saying this again, remember where this team was 3 years ago. Celebrate the fact that you have a 5-1 team and one of the best teams in the league. All right, man. Who do you want to give? Oh, go ahead.
No, I agree. I enjoy it, man. I think this is just a way some people live life. I'm a glass half full kind of person myself.
Yeah.
Right? If something goes wrong, I still try to find to make a positive out of it. And boys, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand how it was. Hell, I used to do these videos, when we only won 7 games in 4 years.
Yeah, for sure.
And now I'm at, thank God I'm in an area where I could talk about a successful organization for the past 2 seasons.
Oh
Boys,
man,
have fun. Don't like the journey is part of the arrival. And
absolutely.
we're gonna look back on these games and be like, man, I was real critical right there.
Yeah,
Man, I mean, I should have just because I heard the spaces yesterday.
yeah,
And to hear that type of reaction after a dub. Now, of course, there was some things that led up to that. It's just, all right, boys, let's lock in. Let's enjoy the ride.
yeah,
And, everyone's just waiting for that Houston Texans 35-point game and them just dominating the other team. And that's going to come. And then everyone's going to be, this is the win that we
right,
have been waiting for. But it feels like we've been saying that the past couple of weeks, right? It was beat a good team,
right.
you beat the Bills. And it was win dominantly, you just did that against the Pats. I
Yeah.
love it though, man. It's just it's this new era of Houston Texans football eliminating all the drama, trauma, PTSD of the old Houston Texans. There's a reason why the phrase same old Houston Texans is so relevant in this city, because there was many times, different teams, we felt like, yep, this is not it. No matter how excited we are for this one, it's different.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely, we're going to be chopping away at that same old Houston Texans. I haven't thought about that since last year.
Nobody knows more than Mr. 713, who's been covering daily Houston Texans content over the last almost a decade. So
don't say that. Oh my God.
Almost a decade. You're good. Hey man, we're getting old. You know what's messed up? You know where ESPN messed up? ESPN messed up because they put two glass half full dudes together on the same podcast. So our glass is always full, baby. It's always positive. We're always, that silver lining on this game is too thick to think about, at least to completely harp on the things that went wrong. Are there things they need to clean up? Yes.
I'll give you 7 great plays,
Yeah, for sure. And listen, whenever the Texans don't play the way they need to, you and I are going to call it out. We're not going to sit here and pretend they won't.
The offense all this previous 9 episodes, we were calling for this offense to get better. We finally got that. So it's like we've been critical.
Yeah, for sure.
Now we got what we wanted to see. Hell, I'm gonna pop a few. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been on this offensive line's ass, bro, like the entire season. So I want to give them some credit where credit is due. Each week, you mentioned it, fewer penalties, fewer mistakes on pass protection, running the ball a little bit better. They're getting better every single week. Like, we can't deny that. And hopefully that continues into Green Bay, man, because I'm telling you, when you go into Green Bay, man, I'm telling you, man, the frozen tundra.
How you win it, you could win that thing by a safety.
I'm telling you.
In some type of way.
I'm just so hyped for that, bro. I can hear the NFL films music in the background, the frozen tundra. I hope it's
go there with only one cornerback, bro.
I know. Oh man. Well, we'll see. What's the diagnosis on Lassiter right now?
I'm not sure. I don't think he's gonna play, to be honest with you. And right now, the Texans are 3-point underdogs.
Yeah. I'm knocking on some wood right now. We didn't think Joe Mixon and Damian Pierce were gonna play last week either. So hopefully we continue to be wrong in that regard. But either way, and it was weird to see Stingley get beat. That was a little bit strange, bro. But it happens. It happens to the best of the best.
Where the main argument started on the spaces. So it wasn't really, my guy Barrett was upset about, that. But Stingley, who we all consider to be an all-pro cornerback, didn't look like an all-pro cornerback right there, especially to that type of receiver booty. Who actually, who beat him. That's his name, so I'm sorry.
It's true. He wasn't booty on that play, though.
No, it wasn't booty on that play. The rest of the game he was. And
oh man.
It's something we talked about, right? We've said these corners have been getting beat. And when someone puts it on them, pause, they're going to take advantage of that opportunity.
Drake May made a great throw, but you got to give credit where credit is due.
Exactly. And, you win some and, obviously because of where we were like, damn, 14-7.
Yeah, dude, run that play 50 times and Stingley's going to shut it down 45 of them. It happened. Even the best of the best have been scored on before. Like, it's not something that we should be, panicking about. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be in good position to make more plays this season. The takeaways, I'm hoping, even though, like I said, the Packers are definitely a step up in competition, I hope they got a little, like sharks, man, they got a little taste of that blood in the water, start taking this ball away. Because if they can continue to do that, man, and you get this offense cooking, you hit the nail on the head with the Stephon Diggs. The trades worked out, man. Shout out to Tank Dell. You came up, you made some good plays. I think he had 6 catches, 77 yards. I'm sorry, he had 57 yards on his 7 catches, a long of 20. Let's keep doing what we've been doing, man. Get better every week. Keep getting better. And I think you have a shot, at least. To be a 3-point underdog on the road in Green Bay, that's probably expected. Most teams are going to be at least a 3-point dog. Maybe, a few teams might be a little less than 3, but most teams going on the road in Green Bay are going to be a 3-point underdog at this point. Sure. But let's get a dub out there, man. First of all, I want to give game balls in this game to Will Anderson, to Joe Mixon, and a shout out to Dameon Pierce for what he was able to do. Like you said, I know that touchdown that he scored was huge for him. Who else you want to give game balls to in this one?
Let's go Will Anderson Jr.
Okay.
Let's go Stephon Diggs.
Absolutely.
Let's go Joe Mixon.
For sure. I think, man, I think next week, if you can run the ball, I don't want to. First of all, guys, we do our preview show for the Texans games on Ruben's channel, 713 Houston Sports. So please make sure, if you're watching this on ESPN Houston, that you go and subscribe to 713 Houston Sports so you don't catch those preview games. And then we do the reaction games here on ESPN every Tuesday. I think we're moving it to 7:30 now. I don't want to get too much into the Packers game, man, but what do you think the Texans need to do well to get a dub in Green Bay?
Keep the ball away from Jordan Love. That's what you got to do.
Absolutely.
You might go in without, Kamari Lassiter. That wide receiving core for Green Bay is scary.
They're getting healthy too, man. They're getting healthy.
They're all healthy. So keep the ball on your side. Long drives. You have the running backs to do it.
Yeah.
Let's win a fun one, boys. Let's go 6-1.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I can't wait to break down that game. I can't wait to do the show afterward. Here's the thing, man. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Maybe this is getting a little bit ahead of myself, but I did have us after the Packers game being 5-2 when I did my schedule, when the schedule was released and I was doing my show. Now, what do I know? I had us losing to the Colts and beating the Vikings. That's exactly what didn't happen. So I could be wrong about this too. I'm not gonna be upset with a loss against the Green Bay Packers unless it's a blowout. If it's a close loss, I'm not gonna be totally upset. Still got that silver lining, man. One of the best teams in football, and you haven't begun hitting on all cylinders yet. Really quick, man. Danico Autry comes back next week. What do you want his impact to be in this game?
Let's see that pass rushing skills. You had 11.5 sacks last year. You've averaged almost 8 sacks a year the past couple of seasons for our AFC South rivals. Let's get it going, Danico, and let's see how much more dangerous this front four can be when you got 3 legit pass rushers.
Yeah, man. I hope we're saying his name a lot in our next Twin Toros episode. All right, guys, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Once again, let me remind you where you can find our content. Mr. 713 is on 713 Houston Sports on YouTube. I will put his link tree in the description of this video so you can find him on X, on IG, on TikTok, or just go search 713 Houston Sports. There's only one. He's the one and only. And then you can find me on Houston Sports State of the Union podcast on YouTube, X. I am at PodHostNick on TikTok. Once again, I will leave those links and a link tree in the description of this video. Shout out to ESPN Houston, especially to Joe George. Thank you guys so much for allowing us to share and celebrate Houston sports on your platform. Before we get out of here, Mr. 713, what you got?
We got breaking news from DJ Bieniemy. Texans defensive tackle Mario Edwards Jr. is suspended 4 games without pay for violating the NFL substance abuse policy. So, we were highlighting Mario Edwards Jr. for having a fantastic game. Now we know why. The boy was on the juice. This couldn't have come at a better time. Shout out to Danico Autry.
Bro, do Danico and and Mario Edwards got the same plug or what? Now,
Bro,
first of all,
what's crazy is they came from other teams, dude.
all right, listen.
You find out
So,
Brian
first of all,
Christian's in that back in that weight room.
was it ever confirmed that the banned substance that Danico Autry took was steroids? Because I think that was just the assumption.
I don't know.
It could have been Adderall.
I didn't
It could
put
have
too much
been.
thought.
Yeah. We don't know for sure. But man, I mean, I forgot to mention him in this, but he's been balling out. He had a great game. And
Now we know why.
my goodness,
here, man, he's suspended. Yeah, everyone's saying Brian Cushing's back in the. Okay, so
I guess he just passed. What happened? Danico just passed the needle over to Mario on the way out the door. Good gracious!
This is what Cody Stoots just said. Per the NFLPA website, all players receive one annual test under the SOA policy. The annual SOA test does not test for THC.
Right.
The drugs they test for are cocaine, synthetic marijuana, amphetamines, including Adderall, opiates, opioids, PCP, and MDMA, which is ecstasy and
Right.
So that's what the NFLPA website, that's what they test for.
So we know he got popped on one of those.
He got popped on one of them.
I'm gonna say probably Adderall, bro. That's my guess.
And that would make the most sense. Adderall is a medical thing, help you lock in and focus.
Yeah.
And if we find out he was crushing Adderall right before the game, it would make sense, right? He was locked in, led the team in tackles with 8.
My goodness. All right. Well, that's an interesting note to end the show on. But look, man.
Hey, breaking news, man.
Absolutely, man. And we appreciate you for it. Mr. 713 stays locked in, stays plugged in. That's the reason you need to follow him, guys. Go follow 713 Houston Sports. Once again, those links will be in the description. We appreciate so much all of your support. Once again, thank you to everybody. If you're not following us on ESPN, go to the ESPN YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe. You can add our playlist to one of your favorites. That way you don't miss a single episode of the Twin Toros. Episode 11 is coming up next week. We'll be putting out a preview for the Packers game on Ruben's channel, 713 Houston Sports. We're going to catch you guys then. In the meantime, you know what we want you to do. You stay 10 toes down for the H. We love you. Good night.